I'm Shalmali Shetty, and I'm the curator for this exhibition titled The Nights Will Follow the Days. And this is an exhibition currently showcasing as part of Serendipity Arts Festival. We're at the Excise building. It's a green building in Punjab. You'll find it just besides the GMC main venue. So this exhibition is a result of the curatorial research fellowship that I've received. This year, it's the inaugural fellowship granted by Arts South Asia Project in collaboration with Serendipity Arts Festival. And this fellowship was designed to support a South Asian curator living and working in the UK to platform their research and present the same as part of the festival. And I think it's a very very good platform that I've received, a lot of support I've received at the stage of my life and my career rather than life. I can take you through the exhibition. So for a little bit about the research and the background to how I came about putting this exhibition together. My research interests revolve around ideas of memories, archives, and ontology, as well as material culture studies. And I'm looking at the relationship of India, the global south, with the neo-colonial West. And so thinking through the idea of the concept of return, the haunting. I've got a story up there, which is coming from a very personal space. This is the story of my grandmother's neighbor, who apparently returned to her house 25 years after her passing. Mm-hmm. And so it may be in the form of a ghost, or maybe in the form of a memory that my uncle sort of experienced in that given time and space when he encountered this old woman at a certain time of the day. And I think all of these elements and ideas put together really got me curious in thinking around the ideas of a return to a homeland, a landscape, the relationship one shares with the landscape beyond their lifetimes, and thinking about concepts and theories around spectral landscapes itself, and spectral memories and the haunting of these experiences. So, as in the process of thinking through these lines of inquiry, I have been following works of certain artists that I've been wanting to work with, and given this opportunity to the fellowship, I extended my invitation to some really brilliant artists who've been working with concepts and themes of migration, displacement, and histories of colonization. And so I can maybe take you through the works of the 5 artists who are showcasing their works. There's Munir Wasif. He's a Bangladesh-based artist, as most of you know. He's through a series of photographs and writing. He titled Dark Waters. He talks about the plight of the Rohingya Muslims and their sort of experience of crossing the Bay of Bengal from Myanmar to Bangladesh and India, and that experience is sort of illustrated through you see a seascape here, a very dark sort of experience, energy that a lot of them probably went through, and it's a very moving text. If you read through that, it sort of takes you through that, the dark experience of losing one's life and losing the lives of others. This is Shalmali Shetty, and she's a Delhi-based artist. And through this thread work that she's created through the process of the dissolvable fabric, she's recreated a part of her grandmother's house. It's a part of a bigger work which has recreated, the entire house of her grandmother. So this is what we have here is a door part of the wall. And this again is a house from the time of the partition, and it's a house that has experienced the different lives, individuals, and timelines that it has sort of been exposed to. There have been happy memories, there have been sad memories in this house as an element of the landscape is an archive. It's when I think about structure like this, it is that landscape is an archive that keeps coming back as well. The body is an archive, not just the archive in its physical form, in its documented form, but how landscapes and objects and inanimate objects can also contribute to making an archive. So moving in, we have, so I've also put up these little notes in each room. These are dispersed memories and thoughts and conversations I might have had. And I've just selected a few and put them up. Each has a little bit of a writing talking about the disease. We come to Shiraz Beju's room. Shiraz Beju is a filmmaker. He's a Mauritius-based filmmaker based in London. And this work called From Surface to Horizon is a 2-channel video. And Shiraz is a researcher of the histories of the Indian Ocean and indentured labor. And so what he presents here is material that he's collected from archival sources and different elements sort of working as metaphors to talking about these histories. For example, we have the coin here that you see. He's sort of superimposed that against. This is a coin from the East India Company that he found in a random museum in Mumbai. That's juxtaposed against a photograph of Port Louis in Mauritius. Also, so I'll come to what it all stands for. There's this fish, the blue marlin, that.
आजी अरे एडिट हो जाएगा, हमें अंदर जाना है ना. अच्छा आ जाइए आप.
So the blue marlin is a symbol of resistance. It's a fish from the deep sea that never swims to shore, and that's the idea of resistance that he talks about. How that is a fish that can never really be caught or subjugated in that sense. And there's also the map of the island of Diego Garcia from the Chagos archipelago that has been experiencing an ongoing conflict and new forms of colonialism. And so he's juxtaposing all of these imageries and visuals to talk about the experience of the post-colony, colonization, and the identity of individuals in a post-colony. Given the history of Mauritius and the fact that a number of huge population from India, were transported to Mauritius as a result of indentured labor. Coming to the next thing, we're back in a very dark room. This is a video and animation by Shalmali Shetty. And this again talks about, this is the doorway that we saw in the main room. And through this animation you see the visual of the door. It's about 10 minutes, it's about 10 minutes in duration. So this visual of the door sort of expands, compresses, decomposes, stretches, breaks, and eventually it becomes a mess of thread. And how, the thread itself, it's the idea of construction and deconstruction through something like, each knot that makes up or builds up a structure, and how each knot can be pulled down to dissolve that idea. And I think it's again going back to that idea of fragility, loss, remembrance, but also how everything is so tangled in the end. And it's eventually getting back to the stars from where you, gather these different elements to make up the word in a sense. And then we have the next people. This is Amba Bennett. And Amba is she's living and working in London. She talks about her grandmother's house again, interestingly. And this time, this is the experience. She has grown up with stories of her grandmother's experience of the partition. And so she's an architect, so she, through these three images that we have here, so this is the data series, and each image has its own title. The first one is mound, the second is camp, and the third is settlement. And these are also terms synonymous with the word data. And means data means all of these things. Data Ghazi Khan is also where her grandmother was born originally, and so this is located. This was in the region of Pakistan before until the partition happened, and so the first image talks about that house, the mound, the original mound that her grandmother lived in. The second image talks about the camp, where her grandmother, through the phase of displacement, sort of transition, that living was experienced through this transition. So living in a camp as a result of that. And the third is called settlement, where her grandmother finally moves to England, finds a house, lives in that house, and renames it Data in memory of her original house in Data Ghazi Khan. So it's the idea of how a house, an abode, the idea of belonging and identity transmutes given certain circumstances politically and socially. And so that series sort of talks about that. We have another work here. She also works largely with making these architectural, sort of sculptural 3D works using metal and powder coating. So this is a 4-layer work that you have here. You can see the layers. She's also talking about the idea of using these analog instruments to sort of experience these otherworldly, to calculate, to understand otherworldly experiences. In short, it's a very technical drawing. There's more information about it here.
Okay, perfect. And I'll take separate more shots and maybe ask you for more high-res images if needed.
Yes.
So
And then we come finally to Alia Said's work. Alia is a Pakistani filmmaker based between London and Glasgow. And I think for me it was also I wanted to include somebody who is working in these different spaces, because I currently am living and working in Glasgow myself. So for me, it's not just about having these dialogues between India and the UK, but also specifically to the places that I've lived in. So Alia was a very good fit to that, because her work also explores the themes of colonialism and migration storytelling coming from personal spaces. So in this case, we have this 24 minutes film, which is a shot of the River Thames in London, and it's called Panopticon Letters, and it's based on the structure of the Panopticon, which was a plan that was first created by Jeremy Bentham in the late 1700s. And this was a plan for making the Panopticon is basically a structure that is situated like a tower in the middle of a circular, prison cell. A structure with prison cells all around it, and with this one lighthouse-looking tower right in the middle. And the idea is to have a guard or watchman sort of keeping an eye on all of these cells, and for the prisoners themselves to feel like they are always being watched. And this is a precursor to the idea of what we know as the CCTV cameras today. And but this was only a plan that was never completed, never constructed. So taking from that, these letters, these archival letters that Jeremy Bentham wrote. We have this film that has a narrative shared between Alia Syed herself. There's a text that she's written in pattern to these excerpts of Jeremy Bentham's letters that are being read out. And so we've got the text here, you can read the transcript for all the information. And she's also got some research material about the panopticon and the drawings at the back. Again, archives of experiences that are always going to return, the history, the past that returns to shape your future, and you are an experience of that. You are a result of that experience of the past. That's the exhibition. And in short, in brief, I did not get into details of each work, but I hope that gives you a sense of how the exhibition came together. Do you have questions about? I don't know, I think you were also talking about my experience of living and working in UK.
Yeah, I mean, I think my only question was, of course, like as someone who is working in Glasgow for the past, I suppose, 4 years, 3 to 4 years, could you talk a little bit about what the community there is like, the expatriate and the diaspora community, especially artists and curators of color who are working within the Glasgow art space, and where do you think your experiences there sort of related to the way you approached this work, since it was coming to Goa, and had all of these transcultural aspects to it as well?
Yeah, I think Glasgow in Scotland does have a South Asian diaspora, but compared to how much of a bigger community it is in London and England, it is a much smaller community, a brown community, South Asian community living in Glasgow. And definitely because it's a smaller city away from the central parts of London, Manchester, and also Birmingham, of course. And I think my personal choice to move to Glasgow was because it was a smaller city. I was working in Delhi before that, and I did not want to live in another big city and not really find the time to do anything for myself. And so Glasgow has been my experience of living and working in Glasgow for the past 3 years after my graduation in 2020 has been a very different otherworldly experience, I would say. Because it's nothing like I've experienced before working in India, even thinking about working in other bigger cities like London. Because there is a support system and a network that I wouldn't have imagined any other country sort of offering you. And I found a community over the past 3 years of living there, working there, and a community that is also ensuring that you find your way, find your voice, especially as an outsider. You find your sort of, I don't know, sort of, I think it's, so what they're trying to do there is also trying to represent voices of other parts of the world. There is a very rich history of the Black community living in Glasgow, and I have worked in collaboration with a number of artists, dancers, and performers from the Black community living there, and also alongside more vulnerable communities such as the refugees who have moved to Glasgow. And so Glasgow is also trying to invite and welcome more refugees and more more of these alternative sort of or marginalized communities. Also, I would say, in contrast to how England has been treating, its people and sending back people to other parts of the world. Scotland, in a way, is also trying to gain independence from, the rest of the UK. So I think as a result, it's trying alternative ways of working. And making safe spaces more accessible, making funding more accessible. It certainly has problems. The structure and governance certainly has problems. This is specific, to the art industry that I'm talking about.
Yeah.
But I have felt that accessing funding there as an individual or even for independent projects is a whole different process compared to how it works or doesn't work in India. Because in India it is more in private hands. It's not always, and it's a bigger country. It's a larger population. So systems here are not standardized even in terms of making it more accessible for people and artists and creative cultural practitioners. Whereas there you have an idea in your head and you can apply for a certain, I don't know, maybe an open fund, maybe a certain other kind of fund. And so I think that has been an eye-opener and a very different sort of experience I've undergone. And as a result, it is so much easier to undertake projects, so much easier to think of ambitious ideas and make that into a reality. And so for this exhibition I think all of these experiences basically contributed and has been one of my initial proposals to even go to the UK was to, curation isn't a subject that is a full-time course taught in any of the universities in India. It is, of course, now being introduced in different smaller gallery spaces or in private spaces rather.
Yeah.
And there is, of course, there's more focus on museology as a form of curation or museum curation. But I wanted to go study contemporary curation and sort of look at the idea of what contemporary means from the eyes of somebody from, like myself, from the South Asian diaspora, and how that sort of, given my interest in archives and memories, how that sort of plays into contemporary art, So I think that was one of the reasons I went to the Glasgow School of Art to study contemporary curation. And as a result, I'm sort of, looking, given that we're all in the contemporary right now, it's sort of looking at the past through the lens of the contemporary and how that is currently shaping us. And so all of the artists for this exhibition I've chosen are also, taken from this idea of the diaspora. Given Alia's side sort of experience of, having her parents having moved during the partition to England, and she was born in Wales herself. So sort of growing up with that idea of the past, the post-memory, how that shapes you, and how that is being played out in the contemporary spaces